welcome to the All Sports Podcast with me, Matt, and Joel. How
Hey
are you,
Matt.
mate?
All good, mate. How are you?
Yeah, good, thank you. And in age order, James, how are you?
Hello, guys. Yeah, all okay.
Good on you. First pod of the year. And Femi, still on probation, couple of months to go. How are you getting on?
Will it ever end? That's the question.
Please, the main draw, as I like to say.
On performance review. You doing all right?
Yeah. We all say.
Buoyed by the weekend, I'm sure, and we'll get into that. But first off, let's kick off the other sports so we can make it an all sports podcast for once, and then we'll wrap up with a deeper dive on the FA Cup in football. So first, we just started talking about the TGL golf by tomorrow. Do they call it tomorrow, or is it just TMRW? I assume they call it tomorrow sports, but Tiger Woods and Rory McIlroy's venture with the TG Golf League kicked off in Florida last week at is it SoFi Center?
Yeah, it's in Florida, isn't it?
Yeah, at the SoFi Center. So, however big the screen was, I'm going to say 200 foot screen, probably bigger.
No,
Is it?
no, I don't think it's that big.
Really?
It looked pretty big to me.
Looked fairly big. Scramble in the background and have a look. But what I was most impressed...
60 feet.
60 feet? Is that it? Oh, okay. Well, what I was most impressed with was the putting green. The movable putting green with the plates underneath. Absolutely phenomenal. The technology that they've put into it, it's taken golf, like... Yeah, I don't know what other sport has had that level of a technological jump.
And the fact that it's different, so different to live as well, I think is really important. They needed a differential because they couldn't, live just kind of did another tour, which, it had this differential in the sense that it was being played on other courses and obviously the money that was involved. But the team aspect never really worked. I don't think, anyway.
I didn't buy into it personally.
And I think that's something that TGL have taken on as well. There is a team element to it, isn't there?
Yeah.
But I think there's enough, like I say, there's enough differential for it to be considered not just a live competitor,
Yeah, what's interesting about the teams and the locations is that they're obviously from different clubs and regions. However, it's all being played in Florida, so it's not like you're playing in your home arena, but that probably is a progression of it, right? That they have these stadiums, like they've got the outdoor stadium size that they could do it in, but they don't have the setup like they've done specifically for this one. So maybe that is the progression of it, that if this is the pilot, then it's in one location. But it's been sold out crowds. It's been sold out crowds, and the atmosphere in the arena has seemed to be really good. They're getting big name celebrities in there, and yeah, it's just really good vibe.
Yeah, it's just the next modern twist on golf. Golf hasn't really changed in the hundreds of years it's been played. We've seen it in other sports like cricket, probably the biggest example of where they've gone from the 5-day format to a 20-over format to keep people's attention. This is golf's attempt at that. I think they're taking all the bad bits that people don't enjoy about golf. It's too long. There's shot clock. Like the people take ages to take their shots, and it's a bit boring. They've got DJs in. They've got shot clocks. The technology is really, really advanced, and they're trying to make golf as watchable as possible, which is, it's only a good thing for the sport. Obviously, as a big golfer, I quite enjoy it. There's going to be purists that absolutely hate it, and people that hate golf are always going to hate golf. They're not really going to get into it because Tiger Woods is sitting into a screen. So yeah, I think I was reading today, it's not just golf they're looking at this venture, they're looking at other sports, how they can adapt this process to that. But yeah, it's something new. It's a chance to see these guys in a situation you would never, ever have an opportunity to do before. So yeah, all for it.
I'm getting hung up on the name. Tomorrow. So what, that's Tiger, McIlroy, Rory Woods, is it?
Yeah, I think it's more about it's a venture catalyst, and they've just stuck Tiger and Rory in front of it as the faces. But there's a live guy involved as well, I think. So there's people. The opening show, there was American football club owners, team owners. So they had every big name from sports in there. But even when you talk about live, like they're talking about bringing live players onto the teams now. This could be the first mixture we see, which would be pretty cool. But yeah, the general premise is, I don't know if you've ever been to a golf simulator before, but they have the big screen that you hit your long distance shots into. Obviously on a whole other scale, like a normal screen is like 10 foot big, and you're in a little box. This is 60 feet high, and they're hitting as if they were hitting into a fairway miles away. So everything from 50 yards and in is then done around this this green, this like super technologically advanced green. They can move all the contours, they move the pin, they can spin it round, they're attacking it from different directions. And essentially they can make a brand new hole every single time. So they're still playing like a course per se, but it's just very customized.
That's cool.
And then depending on where they're hitting from, they have different like turf. So they'll have fairway in the facility, it'll be grass, they'll have sand, they'll have long grass, just trying to make it as course-like as possible. So yeah, honestly, it's really cool. I just think once people start to buy into the teams, and maybe you see Tiger and Rory play, there'll be a bit more eyes on it. But for a first week, it was pretty entertaining.
I have played a golf simulator before, but I always select the auto putting option.
Yeah, I don't blame you. But I think that's always been the blocker, is like the putting and the chipping.
Yeah,
good on it. But like with how great the TrackMans are, and the newer products like it, the long shots are so accurate that they're happy just to go, right, we'll do them on a screen, and then you can chip and putt around an actual green and have it in the building.
Yeah, that's cool.
The YouTube side hasn't really got to it yet. Once those influencers start, like I've seen a few of them start making their videos around it, I think that'll bring a whole other set of eyes as well.
I haven't seen this moving green. I can't really imagine it.
It's huge. I'll see if I can send you a video, but essentially imagine like a full size, like 70-foot wide green. There's a couple of bunkers on some side, and they've got some contours that can move. And at the end of each hole, they'll either rotate the green or they'll rotate the tee box. So you're attacking a new green every single time. So it's essentially a new hole to them.
How on earth are they doing that?
Yeah, this must be some serious. I've seen it happen in like smaller putting greens, like the commercial ones where they're not that big, but they can move the ground to practice a right to left or a left to right or whatever. Just doing that on a much larger scale.
I'll flash a picture up of the plates underneath.
Yeah, so there's like these 3 plates underneath, right? And I guess they can move them up and down. Is that
Well, I think there's 3 plates, but then within that there's even more discs as well for the undulation. It's fascinating.
That is amazing.
Yeah, that's why I said, like, I think it's the biggest shift in technology that any sport has done. Format changes in other sport, but in terms of a technological leap, this is just out there.
Like other sports have only really changed. Like they've just
review system.
They just like made it more intense. Whereas golf have had to come up with something slightly different, so that it's not over such a big. You want a concentrated energy, I suppose, to kind of create that slightly different atmosphere. And I guess that this is their solve for that.
Yeah, it's a stadium feel to golf. You don't get that a lot. Only some courses really facilitate it, where they dip down and there's people coming up outside. It's just a whole new approach to it. I think I mentioned TrackMan as like they're the forefront of it, but it's run by Full Swing, who are like a different competitor. So the tech is just so advanced now.
I've seen Top Tracer's logo around as well. Are they like heavily involved?
I don't know how the two overlap. Obviously, Top Tracer's been going for donkey's years.
Yeah.
So I don't know if they've been sort of brought in as a sponsor or some software providers. But I think it'd be really interesting to see how it develops, like how do the teams get fans? Because like you mentioned, they're not playing out of locations. You're just like, oh, I really like Tiger Woods, so I'm probably going to support his team.
Yeah, exactly. And what does supporting them mean as well?
Yeah, I don't know.
Some merch, I guess.
Yeah, merch, yeah.
It'll probably cost a lot of money.
Like I said, there's no home and away fixtures, right? So that's usually what comes with the support. It's like you're travelling with your home base and making it a bit of a fortress. But you definitely don't have that element yet. Like maybe that is a progression, like I said. Yeah, that's not there yet.
It's really hard to achieve, isn't it? Like part of what makes team sports so interesting is the partisan nature of it, and you are just never going. I just don't see how you recreate that.
Yeah, it's like local representation. That's why it was really nice. It was really nice for all of the London Man United fans to be able to get a home fixture last weekend.
I think that's us segueing off.
I'm not segueing there yet. We won't go there yet. We will. I've got a lot of rounds in the chamber to defend myself and Arsenal.
Who would you want to play for if you could be in one of these teams?
Boston. I support all New England sports, unfortunately, and that will segue very nicely into New England Patriots. However, New England Patriots, Boston Celtics, Bruins, and Red Sox. Although I don't really follow baseball, but yeah, just for the alignment. What about you guys?
I think if you look at the rosters, like the LA team has like the most likable. They've got Morikawa, Thagala, Justin Rose, and Fleetwood. Like two English, two Brits on one team would be pretty cool. But yeah, there's some really big names in here. But I imagine you start sprinkling in a few live golfers and it'll get quite tasty. Imagine you just put a whole live team in to compete.
Yeah, I mean that would be relatively interesting, right? Like I say, like
Yeah.
if you're looking for something partisan, then that is an avenue.
And they've already got existing teams, haven't they? So you could just invite a couple of them, the top performers for this season, say, right, you guys can come play in the TGL, and then there's a bit of a PGA versus live aspect.
That feels like it has a little bit of potential.
Yeah, so it's every Wednesday night for us, but afternoon for them, and it's a whole it's a whole experience. Like you can go to the centre and use the facilities, and they've got like all of the bays and things, and obviously all of the shot tracking's all set up. Experientially, I think it's great as a fan experience, but obviously, yeah, just Florida based. But if you're a golf fanatic, it's the kind of thing you'd do. Like that's a great golfing destination is Florida anyway. So why wouldn't you do like bolt on something like that or make it specific to that?
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's really taken off from the YouTube side. If you look at the views, it's got 500,000 in 5 days, which is about the same as the normal PGA Tour highlights. Whereas your golf YouTube personalities are getting 5, 6, 700,000. Seeing a video here from 6 days ago, 1.7 million. Grant Horvath getting a
Who's
video
that?
with Tiger. Grant Horvath did like a lesson with Tiger Woods, and it just goes
well,
crazy.
he's just done one with Rory as well.
Yeah, the crossover is mental at the moment.
Yeah, it's the Tailor-Made Alliance, isn't it?
Absolutely.
So it was their big launch last week or over the weekend for TGL late last week.
Wednesday was
last
the
Wednesday.
first day. Yeah.
Okay. And the only viral golf video I've seen in that time is the fan hitting a hole in one over Bryson's house.
Yeah, exactly.
So
Yeah,
I think
exactly.
that probably tells you a little bit about how it's gone so far. Like they need those moments, don't they? So that they can clip them up, get them out to people, and then the views will come after that.
Yeah, I guess they could have led with like a Rory versus Tiger game, but then you're only going down from there. Whereas they'll build up to that, I anticipate, in terms of views and virality. That's where the clips will come from.
It's like longest drive stats and stuff where you've got it all virtually. I feel like there's so much more in terms of stats and competition that you can bolt onto it. But yeah, like I said, just the pilot, and it was just the first week, so can only probably hopefully get better from there. But yeah, I said about New England sports, obviously we'll segue into American football now. Frustratingly, as a New England Patriots fan, they beat the Buffalo Bills last week to take them off bottom spot in all of the leagues, which would have meant they got a first draft pick, and they now get fourth pick. Like, if you're picking teams, you want the first pick. Like when we were doing the FPL draft last year, it was like whoever got first pick was basically going to win because you had Haaland.
I didn't win.
Yeah, I don't even know. I don't know what happened. I don't even know what happened with that draft result. I was out of it early, but yeah, they threw away their option by beating the team that possibly is going to win the Super Bowl.
Possibly is a very big statement. Very, very big statement. When you've got the Chiefs and the Baltimore Ravens, but I do get your point. I think Josh Allen's been playing great football lately as well. Last night he threw the ball to I can't remember his name, the wide receiver that got injured and suffered a really nasty gash. But to be fair to the New England Patriots, to be fair, I think that they're still a good team. I mean, they were a dynasty for a while. And now they're kind of in a rebuild process. They've recently fired the coach, OJ Mayo, and he really struggled in the press conferences to really stamp his authority. So I think it was probably the right decision. And now they've brought in Vrabel, who was a former player. So I think they're trying to go down this route of bringing players who familiarize, who are used to the culture, the New England culture, in terms of like with Belichick, what he's instilled in that franchise, going back years and years and years. Like, it's almost a military base. the way they do things is, if we're making reference to football, we can use Fergie with what he's done with the 98 squad with, say 98, 99 squad with Scholes and Giggs, the rest of them. It's the similar impact that Bill Belichick had in the NFL, just with these players. So I think, going back to your roots, picking players who understand the culture, I think it might work out for them in the long term. But, that remains to be seen. Football is never guaranteed. And it's obviously sad that with NFL, you literally get one game. I never got that, how it's literally knockout. You get one game and that's it. There's no two legs. There's no four, first to four like it is in the NBA. It's literally knockout football. I mean, I guess that's what makes it exciting as well. And to be fair, you can't really have two legs given how intense American football is as well. I mean, you've got 14 games in total. So I guess, it makes sense. It makes sense, and it adds to the excitement as well.
So where are we at the moment in the season? Are we...
We've just done the wild card round.
Okay.
So the wild card round, two teams, the team that leads the AFC and the team that leads the NFC skip the wild card, but the next best of the rest go through and play the wild card round. Interestingly, about the wild card though, it was only introduced, about 50 years ago it was introduced, so a fairly decent amount of time. And in that time, only 10 of the wildcard teams have ever made it through to the Super Bowl. 6 of them have won it, but in 54, 55 years, only 6 wildcard teams have actually won it. So highest likelihood is that it's going to be between the Chiefs and the Lions, Detroit Lions.
So you're telling me
there's a lot of buzz about the Lions. Obviously, James, you were talking about the Kansas City Chiefs went on their big streak at the start of the season.
They were scrappy there, weren't they? So
yeah, they were winning scrappy, but Detroit Lions have had like a second half of the season and they're building momentum.
So out of those, that stat, so say the wild card's been there 50 years and only 6 have won from the wild card round. You're saying for the other 54 years, the first of either division won the Super Bowl?
Yeah.
That's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
In a knockout format?
Yeah. So the wild cards have only won 6 out of 55.
Wow.
Yeah. Pays to be a seed.
Yeah. It's competitive though. I'm saying like still quite competitive, I'd say. But obviously I know the numbers don't tell the full story going back years and years. But I mean, Detroit Lions, oh mate. Like the mentality, what Dan Campbell's done with that franchise is incredible. I don't know if you watched their tapes, like literally after the games, like they always have like this behind the scenes. He's giving the motivational speeches and then he's just giving that team talk. That I'm watching those videos and I'm almost prepared to run and play the game with him because it's literally I get hyped up.
Lights.
Honestly, he just lights a fire. Like he's a really good talker, and you can tell like the team believe in him. The team literally all behind him as well. And Lions, they've played great football all season. So I'm particularly excited to watch them. I think they've got if I'm not mistaken, who they got next week?
Lions have got the Commanders, Washington Commanders.
Yeah, and that will have Jaden McDaniels. So that should be a good game, but probably root for the Lions with that one.
I was actually surprised that the Commanders beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think they've had their game for the knockouts, and I think so the next round, Joel, where we're at, we've done wild card. Next is the divisional round, and then it's the conference championship. So that's the AFC or the NFC, which the league split into, and then whoever wins that goes into the Super Bowl. So we've got 2 more knockout rounds to go, and then it's the Super Bowl. So all done in 4 weeks' time.
Crazy.
9th of Feb.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
lovely. I'll probably tune in about
but Buffalo Bills Ravens going to be a great game.
To me, that's the game of the playoffs for me. Other than the Final Four, that's the game of the playoffs.
Are you staying up?
How do they figure out who plays who? Because you've got like North.
It's seeded.
North, south, east, west, right?
Yeah, so it is now split. It is now split into their into the NFC or the AFC. So the AFC is the American Football Conference and NFC is the National. And there are North and Souths in both, but it is just done on seed in your conference.
I'm going to ask a really stupid question here. What's the difference between American Football Conference and National Football Conference if they're
I
both?
was thinking the same thing, so I'm glad that you
I don't
asked.
know.
Yeah.
I think it's just the split. There's some relevance to it in the past, but it's just how they've titled the splits.
So do East and North sit in National and South and West
No.
sit in AFC? No.
No. There's both in all of them.
What a confusing process.
I'm finding these tables really hard to read.
No idea what's going on. Did Taylor Swift's team win? That's
Yeah.
Last year
Yeah.
they did.
yeah.
James and Taylor's Kansas City Chiefs are through, and yeah, they will be playing. They will be playing this weekend against the Houston Texans.
Have they got anybody famous? The Houston
Kansas
Texans?
City
No, Houston. Have they got any mega fans?
mega fans. I don't know. Yeah, usually when we talk about a sports team, we usually talk about players, don't we? But we
yeah,
can.
in like the championship, it's like Frank Lampard's Coventry.
Yeah.
We need names to associate.
George Bush Senior,
Okay, well, we'll take that.
They
famously.
won't.
Raging Republican, but we'll take it.
But no, CJ Stroud, he's a baller.
Is he a fan or is he a player?
He's a player.
Okay.
Quarterback.
Yeah, he's a player. I'm afraid he's not a fan. Dennis Quaid, Simone Biles,
Yeah, we
No
these ones.
mobiles.
Yeah, she's the
George
gymnast.
Foreman.
Ooh, that's you know what? That's a really good one. I enjoy that.
Now
George
we're
Foreman.
naming names. Yeah. Who
Foreman.
Lord
Foreman
Foreman's
Texans.
Houston Texans.
So yeah, this time next week we will know who is in the conference championships, who's going to win the AFC and the NFC. So my predictions are that the Bills will beat the Ravens, and it's going to be the Buffalo Bills versus the Kansas City Chiefs. And then in the other end of the draw, Detroit Lions. I can't see anyone beating them, but they're going to be up against the Philadelphia Eagles, who have got either the Rams or the Vikings. They're playing tomorrow night.
Do you stay up and watch these matches at silly o'clock in the morning?
Sunday is actually quiet.
They're basically on straight after Super Sunday, aren't they?
Yeah. So it's
Yeah, they're lunchtime in the US. And then, so the ones that are a little bit later. Football's played much earlier in the day. Basketball's played in the evening.
Well, they have to because it takes hours.
Like East Coast games are played with a West Coast
It'll take
audience.
hours, to be fair.
So it's like 1 o'clock or 3 o'clock in the morning, a lot of the NBA games, which is quite frustrating. 11's probably the earliest of the midweek fixtures. And then at the weekend, you get some more favourable ones like 8:30. So, yeah. Like I said last week, had the lovely Sunday evening, 8:30 p.m. Boston Celtics game. And they just didn't show up.
That was
That's-
such a good game. That's been the best game.
The segue into basketball. Go, Femi.
That has been the best game this season. Honestly,
Hey.
in my view. It was a really good game. I think that they just didn't show up. The mighty Celtics, but you know what? I still think Celtics got too much. Heading to the playoffs in a few months. I think they're the team to beat. They have a starting five where I'd probably say most of the players get into any team, win the NBA. JT on his day, he's probably top 3, top 4 best players in the NBA. Also, you got Jaylen Brown as well. On his day, I know people still make fun of the fact that he has one hand, with his poor dribbling skills. But still, he's now you got to give him the respect he deserves. He's an NBA Final MVP. So
Yeah, he is, but some of that is getting bailed out by other players in the team and having depth in the team as well. But yeah, they're just very inconsistent at the moment. I can see them in a series of 7. I can see them losing 3 games and go into a decider. I feel like that is possible with the Celtics this year. I don't know if it's complacency and I don't know the statistics, but the amount of times I've seen them dominating in the first half to then go on and lose it in the second, that they just go on a really poor streak, a really cold streak of shooting. And teams are eating up 5, 10, 15 point deficits on them so simply. And that's been quite frustrating. Cleveland Cavaliers, on the other hand, in the same side of the draw, are obviously the number one seed because they've gone on a couple of hot streaks and they just had their second one. I think they were undefeated in 12 again. So they did 15 at the start of the season. They've done 12 now. They just got beat by the Indiana Pacers, who can beat anyone on their day as well. So Cleveland Cavaliers is still ahead of the Celtics in terms of played over one game. Cleveland Cavaliers probably take it.
Yeah, over one game. Maybe 7. I just think Celtics got too much, and you also got to factor in, within the Western Conference, you probably have loads of players tired from having played 7 games, 6 games, all through to get into the final, where you get to face Boston, who probably have a cakewalk, through the Eastern Conference. The only team, capable of causing them problems, the Cavs, and even with that, probably still say, Boston win in 5 games because I think
and it's probably because they don't have the squad depth and what you would say about the teams that are playing the Boston Celtics this year. It's a championship game every time because you want to beat the NBA champions. So that is how it feels a little bit, that teams are really turning out when they're playing against the Celtics. But there's some other big names in the league that are carrying their teams. We've spoken about Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, the Canadian for Oklahoma City. We spoke about it a bit last week as well, Joel, didn't we? They've got a squad, but they've also got a player that can score 30, 40, 50 points in a game. And he's the only player in the league at the moment, but he's on track at the moment to become the 3rd player ever since 1973-4 season to average 30 points in a game, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, steals and blocks. Yeah, he is the form player in the NBA this year, so he can carry a team through a series as well. So worried about Oklahoma City too.
He'll probably end up being the MVP. It's always funny whenever you say his name, you always say the Canadian. I never get that. You say SGA, the Canadian.
Yeah, because there's a lot of assumptions that
He's
players are American, but there's so much overseas talent in the NBA. Wembanyama from France, you've got Giannis from Greece, and you've got SGA from Canada, who are probably the 3 best players in the league. Yeah, Jokic and Doncic.
Been the case for a while, hasn't it? Yaming, Nowitzki, the Gasol brothers.
Yeah. But I'll probably say now we have more international players than we had back then. Like back then, you probably had you could probably assemble a team of 6, 7, really good international players. Now you could probably have 2, 3 teams of them. The NBA is that dynamic and that international worldwide. So I think, now you get loads of different players. I think Jokic for me is still the best, but that's just my opinion. Obviously, I support Denver. My guy Russell Westbrook, he's been carrying them, all through this last few months as well. So, but I'm still rooting for Denver, rooting for Westbrook, get him that final ring to add to his collection of accolades, singular accolades, should I say?
Well, I don't think it's not going to happen this year, but
is there still a bit of a split between the conferences? When I'd say 15, maybe 10, 15 years ago, the Western Conference was quite a lot stronger than
it was.
Eastern. Is that still the case, or is it a bit different now?
There are some divisions in each conference.
Yeah.
I still think Western Conference Pacific, that's got the Lakers, Clippers, Sacramento Kings, Phoenix, Golden State Warriors. The first half of the season, they're all 50% win rate or better, which is the best in the league. But then if you look on the Eastern Conference with the Celtics, the Knicks, the Cavaliers, you're probably saying that Milwaukee Bucks, you're probably going to get the NBA champion out of that pool.
Yeah, and mostly because with the West, players are mostly tired. By the time you get into a final, you've gone back and forth. You've literally been in some serious wars. Getting through with some of the best players. Win the West and then get to a final, and it's you have to do it all over again. But with a team that's actually fresher, we probably had an easier route down to the final. So
We say route. We say route in England.
yeah, well,
Femi.
Americans say route.
Catering to the international audience, Femi.
Exactly.
The kind of innovative thinking they'll get you passing your probation, mate.
I was waiting for you to call out as well. I was like, he's gonna say so.
It just slipped. It just
I
slipped,
can see
didn't
his
it?
ears
Yeah.
tingling.
Yeah, I mean it's the same. Like passing routes in NFL. I've been
NFL,
listening to
yeah.
all weekend, so I've not heard anyone say route.
Honestly, it
all
sounds
weekend.
so weird saying passing route, like, huh?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, like as an actual term, it is a passing route, is what I know it as, because it's an American footballism rather than another term for another sport. We don't have passing routes in traditional English football.
No,
That's-
we have passing maps now.
We do have passing maps. Talk to me about some passing maps from
Well,
the
I don't
FA
have
Cup
any
this
particular
weekend.
passing maps that I want to call out. But yeah, if you follow any stats guys on Twitter, then you'll see a pass map posted.
Yeah. FA Cup then, English Football League.
It was good. I really liked it.
I loved it. From
Well,
start.
you loved it for obvious reasons, but
Talk about warriors on the pitch.
Hey, should we
Talk
sit?
about-
Let's
should we
let's
start
talk
there? Then?
about
Should we start at the Emirates?
my
Oh,
sound.
no.
My sound's going. Right, go on then. What do you want to say about it?
I'll let you start, Matt. You know me, you're the Arsenal fan here. You're the Arsenal fan here.
Well, I posted in the group, and I think it sums up Arsenal for the last 6 weeks that they've been pretty toothless. They don't look like they've got confidence. The attack is very blunt. The chat has been about a left winger and a centre forward for the last 2 years, and it hasn't been solved. And this is what happens if you don't solve the problem. Then the outcome of that is what you saw on the field, and that's fine. Like it papers over the cracks. It's actually better for it to be exposed. Had the penalty have gone in, interesting statistic actually about the penalty.
That it was never ever a penalty. Is that the interesting statistic that you had?
Honestly,
I mean, look, it was given, so whatever. But Bayindir is the first Premier League goalkeeper on record to save a penalty in both normal time and in a penalty shootout in the same FA Cup game.
Oh, I was going to say FA Cup, yeah. I was going to say ever. Seems a bit niche. Yeah, I didn't realise how tall he was. 6'6". He doesn't.
No,
look
he's not.
that
I
big.
think that's wrong.
Yeah, he doesn't look that.
I think that's wrong because I heard them say that in the penalty shootout as well, and
That's
I
with
don't think
studs
that's
on.
right.
Yeah, that's stud assisted height, isn't it?
Yeah. So, but he doesn't look that big when you look at him on the pitch.
I'm looking at him next to the goal now, and he's not 6'6". He's 6'4". He's
quite
6'4".
tall.
Says he's
I think he's
Google says 198. So yeah,
I
he
have
didn't
never,
look that big.
I have never seen a player have a redemption arc, literally in the game. Honestly,
From that kick in the first half.
from the kick in the first half to the goal and the role he played in the goal to literally just he saves the penalty and he's a completely different player.
I don't think he was that bad for the goal. I think the punch is not great, but he gets rid of it. He doesn't punch at his own net. It's not
an error that leads to goal. I
Yeah,
wouldn't
that
say
didn't
it's an
stand
error
out
that
to me.
leads to goal.
No. And then the actual goal was a deflection past him. So yeah, the punch
so-
is not perfect, but he gets rid of it. You know, the Spurs one, he
Calm down
literally
with the
ends up with his
redemption
net.
arc.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A more confident goalkeeper, Cash is there, I think, because he could have caught it.
Yeah, actually, I do remember this now, and it was Shearer, wasn't it? Who was saying,
Yeah.
"Oh, he should have caught that." He's under quite a lot of pressure.
He was
Not
under-
only there's an Arsenal player there, and there's two United players close to him. I actually thought that was quite unfair from.
He came
from
over
Shearer.
the top of a United player to punch it. He could have caught that and it had gone terribly wrong. Punching it was the right play. He just didn't make great contact. But then Mainu heads it straight into one of their players. So there was mistakes after him.
Yeah.
I feel like whenever there's a foreign keeper in goal, the English commentators are always desperate to kind of paint the.
It was the same thing with Sorensen in the Chelsea net. He wasn't great in the air. I don't know if you saw any of the Chelsea highlights. Like he is a bit rope in the air, but it's just such an easy pull down for pundits. Oh, he's not good in the air. He can't kick.
But it's also, I think it's probably the hardest position and is the most frequent position that in cup games they change up the keeper. You need to be like match fitness and match awareness is a real thing for a goalkeeper. I think more so than any other position.
Yeah.
Yeah, and other
That's right.
positions can get minutes in youth games, reserve like keepers who are the backup keeper. They're not risked in an under-21 game. They're getting no match fitness ever.
It drives me up the wall. It's the stupidest thing that modern football clubs do, and I do not understand it. Unless you have two genuinely brilliant goalkeepers, why are you switching them out for a cup game? Villa do it with Martinez and bring in Olsen, and you immediately feel less secure. It's like
You do.
one bloke on the pitch who doesn't need a rest is a
The
goalkeeper.
Olsen one makes no sense. But for United to sign goalkeepers to come and sit at number 2, they go, right, yeah, you're going to be number 2, but you'll play in the cup games. That's how they sign these players. Like 23-year-old goalkeepers aren't going to go and sit on a bench these days. They need a reason to go.
Yeah, but
Has he jumped up in the rankings now with Anana? Like, is he going to get some? Is he time?
there we go. No chance.
And Arnold's still a really good keeper. He has his moments, but so do 90% of goalkeepers.
And he's just the number one.
Yeah.
There's no arguments. Like, there's almost an expectation that when the goalkeeper comes in, but to your point, Joe, I think they've got to play games. I know you're the second goalkeeper, but you actually got to play. You can't go the whole season without playing a single game.
Especially if Martinez gets injured and this guy hasn't played a game for a year, you're going to be really...
I would understand it if it was a younger keeper. From Villa's point of view,
yeah,
Olsen, he's not going to be here much longer. We're not developing a goalkeeper here. He's played a lot of football in his career. He's probably progressed to the point that he's going to. All we're doing is bringing in a rusty, worse keeper.
Olsen should really be looking for that third keeper role now. Like the Scott Carson's that
Scott Carson role.
And then you can develop a younger keeper. But these days, like the 18 to 21-year-old goalkeepers have to be playing to develop. They're never going to develop coming to sit on your bench. So
that's what loans are for, though, isn't it?
Your prospects are probably out on loan.
And that's where there's actual pressure as well.
I go play in the League Two. We had Aaron Ramsdale as a loanee from Southampton, was he?
Mm-hmm.
No, that's where he is now.
It would have been Bournemouth, I think.
Yeah, one of the two. And in his first game, he chucked two balls in the net in a League Two debut, and I was like, "This guy's crap. He's not going to get anywhere." And then
you were right.
Yeah. A year later, he was at Wimbledon in League One. He did all right, and then he was playing in the Premier League. The jump is so quick for them.
Yeah, but I'm not gonna let Matt get out of the way, because Arteta is about to go 6-7 years with no major trophies. Embarrassing.
Copy and paste last week. Community Shields. You got the Emirates Cup.
There we go.
Right, look, I said earlier, I think this is a good thing for Arsenal. They needed to be exposed and knocked out in the tournament that they've won most. This means a lot to Arsenal Football Club. You've won it 14 times, and to go out in the first round, doesn't matter who against, but going out in the first round is just not acceptable, especially when you're at home and you have that history with it.
11 v 10 men.
I mean, yeah, 10 men...
Doesn't really change anything from a United perspective because you're going to sit in anyway.
Yeah, and we know from the Premier League, 10 men doesn't guarantee anything, and you can drag it out to extra time and then chance it in pens, which you did, and that's fine. Look, why are we looking at Arsenal when we could be talking about Tottenham, who got taken to extra time by a non-league side?
Yeah.
Deflect.
I want to go back to your Arsenal point because Arteta is under pressure on the basis he's not delivered, but he's changed everything about that club. Like the culture's changed, the structure's changed, how people look at Arsenal is changing, which you can say is progress, but they're not achieving anything with it. So I think if you look at it as a business, and the owners must be very happy because they're making a lot of money, but they're going nowhere with it, which is going to stop really annoying fans, and that's when you're going to lose your money.
Yeah.
I think they're not
Premier League's really, really hard though, and they're runners-up or thereabouts for the last 3 seasons. I don't that's a huge step forward from Arsenal 5 years ago and before.
And not just runners-up, but runners-up to a very good City side as well.
Suffering the same thing that Klopp did. You're suffering from the best manager and the best team the Premier League's ever seen, in my opinion. Sorry, Femi. And, these teams are going to go down as second places and forgotten, but they are very, very good football teams coming second. In 100 years before, they would have won the league a lot of times.
I just think Arsenal just need a catalyst. I think they're one player short, and I think they are, even with Saka in the side. I think they're just one attacking player short, probably. They'll probably rectify that in the summer. They've been heavily linked with Gyökeres.
Yeah, Isaac, Gyökeres, one of those two.
Spend 83 million now to bring Gyökeres in.
Yeah,
But it's not that simple, is it? Players don't want to. I think we touched on this
Yeah, last week.
recently. Maybe we can do like a more of a transfer episode in a couple of weeks or whatever. But so many things have to fall into place for a transfer to happen at that level
in January.
Yeah,
at any time.
Full stop. Yeah,
At any time, but January is way harder.
so hard. Yeah, it's the most. You're going to pay over 20% easily because these guys
Yeah.
can then not replace these like players. Yeah, but I think in the summer, if you get the 9 that you want, if you get someone of that standard, and then you still fail, Arteta has nowhere to hide.
yeah, agreed.
But yeah, I mean, you can still win the Carabao Cup. Like, what is 2-0 second leg? It's not.
Oh, I don't fancy them. Don't fancy them
Fancy
going
at all. But
I
we're not saying
don't.
it's
Going
not
to
over
Newcastle and turning it around.
to St James's Park. Yeah. But anyway, I mean, on yesterday's game, I think United were resilient, and I think there's some real green shoots there. We kind of touched on it last week, didn't we? But yeah, I think Bruno is he's looking like he's finding his feet again. That finish was brilliant, and I just want to touch on the fact that one was bobbled across the face of the goal to Harry Maguire last week, and the result was very different to the one that was bobbled into Bruno Fernandes, because that was bobbled.
I think he made a comment on Instagram saying, "Can you teach me how to do this?"
I have not seen that. That is so funny.
It was off the back of him having a stellar performance as well this weekend.
Harry Maguire deserves a ton of credit, by the way. Honestly,
he deserves what?
A ton of credit. Like he is. He's an absolute monster. He's of a man.
I think he embodies everything that's changed about United under Amorim, and this might annoy you, but you've not played better football, but you're working 100 times, 100 times harder.
But it's a culture thing, it's a mental thing as well. Like, I mean, Garte said it best. You know, when we have the ball, it's a game. When they have the ball, it's a fight. And it's like that approach to running. I saw Delict, 90 minutes. Corner,
yeah, that clip's
and then he sprint them back, and they say he's slow, but he definitely didn't slow at that point.
So the clip is, I think it's 91st minute, and Raya comes and plucks the ball out, and you see all 10 United players sprinting back to their own box, which is like, under the last 3 or 4 managers, would never have happened. And I think actually the first coaching session I saw of Amorim at United, they are practicing that. They're like, as soon as we lose the ball, everyone's bombing.
He only kept saying, Ahmad, run back. And I mean, that's probably the main reason Rashford's out the squad. Like, that mentality to work hard. Like, you don't see Rashford. I mean, technically gifted. We've talked about, numerous times. He's a brilliant player, but a player who works hard, a player who gives his all. Like, you just don't see that on the pitch. He does a lot more talking off the pitch than he does on the pitch, and it's just it's a culture shift, within the squad now, and it's Amorim's team, and Man United are back, baby.
I don't think Rashford couldn't have done that. He could have stayed and become that player, but
there's more facts there.
Yeah, Amorim, to make it Amorim's team, has had to, take hold of the situation, which is what he's done. But I wouldn't say, like, if you put a Rashford in this team for 6 months, he wouldn't be running back like everybody else is, because he definitely could.
He'd probably run back first 6 months and then, back to his old ways. I've seen it too many times under Ole. It's that inconsistency and it's that mental fragility to literally just stay focused in the whole game and just give your all. Like, it's one thing talking about how much you love the club. You're an academy player. You shouldn't be taught to run back. When you play for the team you actually support, the team that you grew up loving, that should be the norm. You should be the one setting the pace, and he's just not done that. And for me, like, I think Amorim's made the right decision, make the right call. I mean, it's worked in his favour so far, and long may that continue.
Yeah, I always think there's some players that aren't. Like, Salah's probably the example. I've watched Salah for 10 years at Liverpool. He's never been one to bust a gut to get back and help your fullback. But, he's probably one of the club's best ever players. You don't always have to be I'm going to run around for 90 minutes to be a great player.
As long as you're scoring goals, creating goals, no one will ever talk about it.
But the minute you're not, you're a problem.
Big facts.
Any other games?
I'm just trying to deflect across to Tottenham's non-league struggles.
I actually have my own view on this game. So Tamworth, the centre-back who has gone viral, is a guy called Hayden Hollis, who did his Zidane turn. I don't know if you've seen this.
Yeah.
So the ball's laid back to Hollis. He's the last defender, and instead of going to clear it, he's done a roulette around 2 Tottenham players. So everyone's going, "Oh, who's this plumber taking the mick out of Tottenham?" And he was playing for Chesterfield about a year ago. He's one of our coaches, and he still plays part-time for Tamworth. And he's always done things like this. Like, there's a clip of him for flicking it over someone's head, like ball rolling it, and then clipping the ball into the box for a winning goal. So I was like, yeah, get in Hayden Hollis. He's still doing his thing at 32.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
At what? 30 what?
I think he's 32.
He's 32, but he looks about 48.
Oh yeah. He's got a tough paper around, that guy.
Sorry, Hayden, if you're listening.
If you're listening.
That was a cheap laugh. I'm sorry.
Hell of a turn, though.
If you're not, you got to. If you're doing it against a Premier League side, then you've got to bring out the tricks, right? Enjoy it.
I thought the pitch looked tragic.
It's one of these really bad 4G pitches that's mainly, JGB, it's like the little black rubbery
Rubber
stuff.
crumb.
Yeah. Every time you pass it, it flicks up, the ball's bouncing.
It doesn't look like it was rolling true or anything.
So these pitches in the National League are still allowed, but once they get promoted into the Football League, they have to rip them up. Because obviously you can't play Football League games on there. So we played at a couple last year, and they are for a team that's trying to pass the ball around like Tottenham were, it's almost impossible to know if it's going to run true.
But obviously, that all forms, that is what the Cup is all about. Tiny, tiny club, the levelers that are in place, which should remain. It's you don't want it to be all pristine and all perfect for the bigger team, better teams to just come and win the game. I thought it really encapsulated what the Cup is all about. And I think there are a few examples of that this weekend. But yeah, that was definitely the highlight.
Yeah, Plymouth last-minute goal at Brentford. I know they're only a league apart, but Plymouth had an absolute torrid time.
Struggling, aren't they? Yeah.
Yeah, so that was a good one. But I'm a huge FA Cup guy. Last 3 or 4 seasons, we've gone quite far. So I think that the magic of it is still alive. I think the replays getting scrapped was the first sort of dagger in the heart for this comp. I saw a lot of it. Tamworth would have made all this money, but they only got to this round because there wasn't a replay in the round before and it went to penalties. So it's you take it and you leave it sometimes. But I don't like the replays going personally.
No, I mean neither. I think it's very much bigger clubs don't want them, and that's why they're not there anymore. But I also see the view that Tamworth's best chance was yesterday. To get through was on a penalty shootout yesterday. You know what I mean? Go into White Hart Lane. It's not even called that anymore. It's going to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, is where that gap widens and they probably get torn to shreds.
But I don't think they care about. I think they care about the £1 million
It's the money, isn't it?
Runs their club for a year, and that sort of money for those clubs goes so far.
Did you see about the pricing, the ticket prices?
Saw some guy pay £38 and he stood on a level platform with everybody else, which I thought was great. My big problem with the replays being scrapped for game scheduling is Tottenham 3 days after the season will finish will fly off to Australia or Singapore and go and play an exhibition game, and no one will say anything about it, and it does my head in.
Yeah, spot on. They're making room to go and do that and make more money. But won't do it to, like you say, fund a non-league club for a year if the opportunity were to arise.
I think if they scrap replays and adjust the money that drips down the divisions, that's fine because they're still being supported and these clubs can keep going. But if you're doing neither, it seems like a bit of a slap in the face for the reason this competition is loved by so many people. Because Tamworth can take Tottenham Hotspur to extra time.
I wish it went penalties, man.
Yeah, it would be great. I think Ange, his head might have blown off. He'd have survived.
What was it he said? I mean, he said he was going to win a trophy in the second season, right? Yeah, so, I mean, he's well on his way.
People keep taking the mick out of him, though. Even the interview after the Liverpool game on Tuesday. They're like, oh, you always win a trophy. It's like, you may say that now, mate.
The way they're playing at the moment, I don't see them getting past Villa in the next round, though.
I mean, they
absolutely
beat Liverpool.
Would be very Villa.
I genuinely think Tottenham are the one team capable of beating anyone.
They'll beat anyone, yeah.
And they're the one team capable of losing to anyone as well.
they're better against.
I just think with Villa's counter attacking, how open Spurs are at the back, it's like a Liverpool-esque scoreline could be in that game, and that's going to be a great weekend of sport. So that's the Super Bowl final and the FA Cup fourth round.
Nice. There's a couple of good
weekend of sport.
I think the Newcastle away at Birmingham, that'll be a properly tasty FA Cup tie, that, I think.
Yeah,
Ding dong.
Derby have got Leyton Orient rescheduled tomorrow, and the winner plays Man City at home, which is a pretty spinner for them.
Is it? Love that,
Plymouth,
yeah.
Plymouth got Liverpool at home, which is quite a big one for them. There was one other really good one in there as well. Can't remember it now off the top of my head.
Leicester v United. Is that the one?
No, there's a fair amount of Premier League ties though, aren't
Just
there?
pull that one out of thin air.
Yeah.
Exeter got Forest at home, yeah.
Coventry with Ipswich as well. Good fixture.
Exeter beat us as well, so yeah, they'll get a terrible run. They won't stay in. Oxford got Forest.
Yeah, that's good. Like Forest going away to Exeter at that point in the season where Forest are on a run in the Premier League, it is the last thing they want to do is go on an FA Cup run right now, and they especially don't want to be catching the coach down.
Nah,
They're not flying.
They'll be flying.
They'll fly.
The fans are the one you want to feel sorry for. What would be 800
They're not a flight.
miles?
I didn't think they were a flight team.
What do you mean they're not a
Forest?
flight team? They're owned by a Saudi prince.
I'm not seeing a Forest yet.
But what? So it doesn't exist?
No,
Oh, no, he's not Saudi, is he, Forest? Who's the... Is he Greek?
I mean, he owns Olympiacos as well, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Offending a lot of nations right now. Continue.
Oh, I think he is. Yeah, he's actually a bit of a nutter, the guy that owns Notts Forest.
Yeah, he is. I mean, he was suspended once, I think, for I think, was it punching a ref or
Something really
it was something crazy like that. Yeah, he's quite.
That was as recent as late last season, I think.
Evangelos Marinakis.
Yeah.
No, they definitely won't be flying because even United don't. We barely fly these days.
But I mean, I had forgot. I mean, going off on a bit of a Forest tangent now, but yeah, I'd forgotten about this. But Edu is obviously there now. He went there as director of football from Arsenal.
Means all their good signings are now going to stop.
Yeah,
I think there'll be something of a link between Forest and Arsenal now, like similarly to what you had with Arsenal and Fulham over the last season. I think you're going to see similar.
I can't see Arsenal wanting to strengthen the team better than them. That's not going to happen.
Hey, listen, Edu's got a better chance of winning the trophy. Going to Nottingham than us.
Well, it's the Arsenal curse. He's left, so he's guaranteed to win something.
I said this was a good thing. We're getting a number 9 and a left winger now. And I don't think that happens if you paper over the cracks with a run in the FA Cup. I think we say, yeah, we're building, and I don't think we are. I think we need more building blocks to build. Anyway, we keep revisiting Arsenal transfers. Anything else in the football world before we close off or move on?
Everton, David Moyes, I know you've mentioned that as a possibility. I think that's quite a good move for them.
He called it early.
Our pundit in the...
it was me, wasn't it? Yes, yeah, called that.
yeah, it was. Good work.
Yeah, it felt very obvious, I think. And actually, I think it's one of those... I think there's an interesting difference between... So obviously, West Ham also changed their manager last week as well. And I think there's an interesting difference between the two appointments because I can see Moyes going in there, not making big changes to style of play, maybe unlocking an extra 10% from the players and the crowd, bringing everyone together a little bit and, turn it around quickly and into winning results. I think for Potter, it's going to be way harder if he wants to play the way that he has previously. So he's going to need a bit more time and a bit more patience. But I wonder if in the long term it might pay off. But I wouldn't be certain of that with the way that West Ham are as a club, that it's the perfect fit for him, to be honest.
If you look at the players, they've got the players to do it. They've got technically based, like especially their midfielders. Like some of the people in that midfield are very, very good technical footballers. I think.
Who are you thinking?
I'm thinking Paquetá. I'm thinking Somerville. I'm thinking Bowen. Edson Alvarez is a bit of a brute, but he can pass a football. Souček is a bit more of the old mould, but he's still going to need to score goals from set pieces, and he'll be there. Ward-Prowse isn't there anymore, is he? But fullbacks maybe not. Not Souček. What's his name? Kufal, yeah, a little bit limited. I think the one rumour I saw today was him going to Brighton for Ferguson on loan, which I think would be pretty smart. They need an out number 9, and obviously he worked with him at Brighton.
Yes. They're also linked with Owanyi from Forest today as well.
And I saw the Duran thing, but Villa have said absolutely not. Duran's going nowhere.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if they could afford him now.
Yeah, I mean, he's gone from, what was he going to be, 35, 40 million in the summer to probably looking at 60.
I think the highest bid was 35 and that was knocked back. I think they wanted 40. And yeah.
Do you think he's going?
No, I don't think so. Summer, maybe. but not in Jan.
And he's going to just go to the highest bidder.
I mean, he's been heavily linked with PSG, so I would think it's that type of destination that he's looking for.
Still quite young and raw in places. Like I feel like PSG's a big step up. I could see him at like a Chelsea because they've got a lot of young players around him, or a West Ham where he's clearly the main man. But PSG seems a mile away from where he is.
There's historic links to Chelsea, so I wonder if that rears its head again. I think, to be fair, if he keeps doing what he's been doing, he'll probably have his pick. I think he's got a lot of belief in himself, and yeah, he's one of the most exciting forwards in the Premier League, one of the most exciting young forwards in the Premier League. So I think if you've got that under your belt, then you'll have a few options.
Yeah, he seems like he'd be a perfect fit. Like if Forest keep this up, like a Forest-esque player, he's quite physical, fits in because Chris Wood cannot keep doing what Chris Wood's doing, for the next couple of years.
I think it will be a step above Forest, personally. But if he went to Forest, I'd be very disappointed.
What if they finish Champions League?
I'd still be disappointed that he thought that was a better place to be.
What about Arsenal?
Would seem like a good move. I actually think a better move for Arsenal would be Ollie Watkins in this window, but that's just me.
Yeah, Duran was the name that was linked. Loosely linked. There's been a few that have been linked, but Duran was loosely linked. Go on, Fem.
For Arsenal, that wouldn't be the right move. You need a centre forward that scores goals, not just brilliant goals.
Yeah, that's why I think Gyökeres is a good one. Yeah.
Probably even Osimhen, I think.
He's going to be on the market, isn't he?
Yeah.
What, in January?
No, in summer.
He's on loan somewhere, isn't he?
He's at Galatasaray, scoring absolutely loads of goals.
A player that's so good over to Galatasaray. I mean,
yeah, his agent's had an absolute stinker though, hasn't he?
Proper stinker.
Yeah.
I think he got rid of him anyway. Yeah, Arsenal should be all over that.
Yeah, I think Arsenal's style of play needs a focal point. Like you'd think City have the similar style of play, and they have Haaland, which he's there to put the chances away, and he can hold the ball up when they need it. Whereas Arsenal's a little tippy-tappy at the moment with Havertz at top. You can't get through people.
Yeah, and Arsenal's like what, 6'2", 6'3"?
Yeah, he's a bit of a unit. Yeah, same mould as Isaac, Gyökeres. Like they're all really good options.
What's his name? Leipzig.
Yeah. Did you see his goal at the weekend?
Arsenal were linked with him last summer.
Yeah, but
he's still quite young though. He's only 21, I think. So I think the idea is a little bit raw.
He signed a new deal last summer, and I expect that will include some kind of release clause for this summer.
Who scores more bangers, Sesko or Duran? I think Sesko.
Duran's goal catalogue is just a joke.
It's a joke.
It's nearly all of Duran's goals are screamers.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
There was. I mean, there've been some screamers this season, but there was one last season in the Conference League at Villa Park that he absolutely rifles in off the bar. I haven't seen many balls hit harder than that.
You're a convert now, though, aren't you, Joel? You're screaming shoot now.
Yeah. That definitely wasn't me earlier in the season, but I'm happy for him to shoot from anywhere now.
That's good. Australian Open has kicked off this weekend.
Your man, what's his name? The Australian
Draper.
guy.
Rios.
No.
Yeah.
He's out and he's on about retiring, isn't he?
He's making it retiring, isn't he? Yeah.
It's a bit of a shame. I think this last big injury is just sort of. It's not just taking the physicality out of him, but it's probably taking the mental out of him to, having to.
Which was barely there in the first place.
It was hanging on by a thread. He'll end up playing like doubles or something and the exhibition stuff because he's still a big character in tennis. But yeah, sad to see him go out in his home open.
Really missing those characters in tennis. Don't feel like. Yeah, I think since the top, like Djokovic isn't at his levels where he was winning all the Grand Slams at the moment, but that doesn't mean he's not going to this year and be the out and out leader this year. Could be at the Australian Open with Murray in his box now as his coach. Which is ever so peculiar. Murray's done a lot in terms of developing young British tennis players, male and female, over the last 10 years. But for Djokovic to appoint Murray seemed peculiar. We'll see. Maybe they get both ways.
Yeah, it's good both ways. Djokovic gets someone who's not going to change too much about his tennis at this point. Murray gets to learn about another world-class player and how to be a coach. And you say about Djokovic taking that record, like, who's his mate? He's only really got one big competition, maybe two. Like the competition now is nowhere near what it was before, so he should be able.
It's Alcaraz and Sinner.
And even Sinner not got his court date, his sport court date set now as well.
Arbitration. It's an
Yeah.
absolute disgrace that he's allowed to play
still
whilst
going on.
under
I feel like we
investigation.
spoke about that more than 6 months ago.
Yeah, it's in April as well. It's not even soon.
Yeah.
I mean, he's the world number one, and it does put a negative spin on the.
He failed drug tests. He's failed drug tests. So
Footballer would have been
you have an
suspended, no
excuse,
pay.
but having a reason for failing the drug test doesn't mean that you didn't fail the drug test. You failed 2 drug tests. It wasn't 1, it was 2. And the reason was, and he said that he's at no fault. And it just does not fly with me at all. WADA haven't accepted it, and that's why it's gone to the arbitration. But yeah, we'll see what comes out. But like you said, it's in April. It's still 3 months to go. We're going to be heading into French Open prep before
And if he's taking
it
this
even
stuff
goes.
and it being, they know they're doing it. This story has been there, ready to go. Like, oh yeah, it wasn't my fault. He was always ready to throw somebody under the bus if he got caught.
Yeah,
which just
100%.
seems even like the fact they're letting him play is just ridiculous. Like, set the date in a week, have him banned until then. I don't understand it.
Yeah, but if he's proven innocent, then you ban. Then he's liable to sue them as well. So.
Well, it's a governing body have said it. It's not just like, he's failed a drugs test. Like, his reason hasn't been accepted. It's going to this court for a reason. It should be quite a simple, okay, yes, no, we agree, or we side with WADA, whatever it is, and on you go. Yeah, I just think because tennis doesn't have a lot of superstars, they're trying to protect him a little bit.
I was going to say, like, when you're on the world number, it's like Usain Bolt back in the day failing a test. Like, athletics would have, gone to the pits.
Yeah, so I think we've spoken about Usain Bolt, haven't we, Femi? We've had the conversation, the whole of his training camp. I mean, similar to Mo Farah under what's his name?
Oh, yeah, that coach, his whole training camp.
The Nike Oregon project.
Alberto
Salazar. Yeah. So Salazar was basically drugging all of his athletes except Mo Farah, his number 1 athlete that had the highest success record. So yeah, Usain Bolt's training camp, like 4 out of 5 of his training teammates in his training camp got done for doping.
Yeah, but probably the top 9 out of 10 sprinters in the world have been done for doping, and the only one that hasn't is Usain Bolt. So there you go. I mean, I don't know, man. I find it hard to have a name like Usain Bolt, which just screams sprinter, to not be fast. So
He's a 6'4" machine.
That's it then. Yeah.
yeah. So, listen,
It's the chicken nuggets, mate.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's just right. It's right. And
you
I
get
can't.
freaks in sport, in every single sport. Like, Usain Bolt might have just been that freak. Like, we're looking.
Yeah, and I agree. Yeah.
Did you guys cover the darts last week? In the
No, not really.
The Littler just being a 17-year-old freak who throws a dart better than anybody's ever picked one up. Like, it's just crazy. These things happen.
Is there a performance-enhancing drug?
Is he too? Is he too young? Is he too young to be drug tested?
I mean, if you take medication that allows you to stay incredibly focused and
like diazepam.
Just
diazepam doesn't. That's the other way along. Yeah, it's beta blockers in snooker and darts that they test for. Imagine being, I got caught for PEDs.
Calm the nerves. Yeah. Yeah, that's it. All right, that will do us for this week's episode. If you enjoy listening along, you can like and subscribe on Spotify, subscribe on YouTube, and get in touch at allsportspods@gmail.com. Cheers, guys. See you on the next one.
Cheers, lads.
Cheers.